for you though, I'm curious to know. So you having that song on the soundtrack, did that create like basically a different how do you say it? A different entry for you as far as revenue was concerned, or
No, I
how did
mean,
that work?
I had, look, after living in America, that's the one that opened up all the doors. But really, it was Dan Hartman. Dan Hartman was so respected. He had many hits. When I started working with him, "I Can Dream About You," which was a huge hit.
Yeah.
And then before that, he was a huge disco, like "Relight My Fire," "Instant Replay." And then before that, he had he was with a band called the Edgar Winter Band and wrote and sang a classic, "Free Ride," for the Edgar Winter Band. So he was very respected. So Dan Hartman was my entry into everything,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
people came to him. So because we were collaborators, writing partners,
Hmm.
because they came to him, I was part of it, and then I was able to branch out on my own, obviously with producing Joe Cocker. But it was really Dan Hartman and then living in America and then producing Joe Cocker. So the Bodyguard was great, is obviously in terms of a revenue stream. I can't argue with that. But I had done a lot before that. But even the Breakin' album, continues. I mean, when I meet people who, to them, the Breakin' album is a classic, and they love the Breakin' album. And oh,
Yeah.
you're 3V, I mean, who knew? You don't think about those things, but of course, the Bodyguard was an amazing, something amazing that happened. But I've been fortunate; a lot of amazing things have happened for me. So it's that's on the sort of on the top of the list. But besides James Brown, probably the top of the list is that Joni Mitchell
Yeah, yeah.
covered the song, because she doesn't do other people's songs.
Hmm.
Joni Mitchell is, to me, arguably, she's a poet, songwriter whose respect is off the charts.
Absolutely.
She's considered one of the greats. And the fact that she covered a song because that was on a James Brown album. How Do You Stop was on a James
See?
Brown album. And, the story I heard, which is in my book, and remember, I heard this secondhand. So, I mean, anybody's out there wants to correct me, can. But the story I heard is that she actually was watching the Cinemax special we were on and heard the song and really thought the lyrics, really loved the lyrics and the tone of the song, and just started singing it in her own way with her own chords, because,
Mm.
Joni has a special way of tuning a guitar and creating her own sound, basically. And
Right.
and suddenly, that album, the Indigo, the Blue album won won a Grammy. And that there again, it's somebody listening to your music and loving it and deciding to cover it. So the Joni Mitchell thing is also a little mind-blowing, because that wasn't pitched. That was complete serendipity.
Mm.
And the fact that Joni Mitchell, who of course I love and respect as an artist, covered that song was really for me, I'd say maybe in the, not, look, I can't argue with Living in America being the number one, but certainly Joni is up there, and also being on the Bodyguard soundtrack,
Yeah, yeah, definitely. But I mean, you really had a lot of great artists and legendary artists that you've worked with, including Joni Mitchell, even Billy Joel you worked with Why Should I Worry? Um, so you just got a whole catalog of legendary artists. I don't even know if there's any misses in your catalog of hits, because
Well, not everybody's, I've been very fortunate, basically, because I figured, if I want to be able to survive as a songwriter, I have to write stylistically that fits for an artist.
yes.
Okay, a particular artist. But the thing about Why Should I Worry, is that, for instance, my daughter, who's grown up now, when, whatever I've done, when she would tell her friends, my dad, they would hear Why Should I Worry? My dad wrote that. They go crazy because that song, for that film,
Yeah,
everybody loves that film, Oliver and Company. So, that's another little kick you get when your daughter says, oh, my friends love that. Or when I worked with Hilary Duff, a lot of people today of a certain age grew up with Hilary Duff.
that's right.
Right. So, when a certain song of mine by Hilary Duff, when I do some lectures and all those college kids or of a certain age, and they go, "Oh, Hilary Duff." They don't necessarily go Joe Cocker, Joe Cocker. They go Hilary Duff, Hilary Duff.
Yep.
So yeah, and I take the same amount. The creative process, if I feel I've done a great job, it's the same pleasure for me to have written something that everybody loves for Hilary Duff or for anybody else. I mean, the idea of James Brown takes it to another level. But
Yes.
honestly, or Joni Mitchell, but honestly, and by the way, just for the record, Hilary Duff is the nicest person uh,
Yeah, yeah.
on the face of the earth. So
I never met her, but she seems nice. But it's definitely true what you said because people that are in my age group definitely grew up with Hilary Duff. But if you love music like I do, then you would go back and do your research because I really listen to 70s music or 60s or that kind of stuff is what I mainly listen to. But everybody in my age group is not that way. But we definitely grew up with that, especially the Liz McGuire show and Disney Channel and all that stuff. In fact, you did a lot of stuff with Disney and Hillary for the Lizzie McGuire movie, I think it was, as well as That's So Raven soundtrack too, matter of fact.
that's right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, you've done a lot. Even So Yesterday by Hillary is one of my favorite songs of hers. But I gotta say though, Disney definitely did a great job in promoting the artists that they had on their channel.
Well,
So
well, well. Actually, Hilary Duff was the one they that was the first one they had that they realized I can sell trillions of records
mhm.
of songs. Well, records don't exist anymore, but I can sell trillions of some type of music, uh, because we have the platform for that.
Yeah.
So she didn't start out as a music person, and certainly that wasn't necessarily her forte. But she had, once again, she had this combination of charisma. She had charm in her voice,
Mhm.
and she was easy to write. We co-wrote a couple of things with her. Basically, she didn't write, but they had the whole Disney machine behind it. There's nothing like Disney for promotion. you
Yeah,
know
that's
and,
true.
and since then they've had all these other artists that actually can sing, really, artists that can really sing. They've had now, and they music has become a big problem, but I don't think anybody believed at the time the A&R person was Jay Landers, who's one of the greatest, for me, A&R people in the history. He's been the A&R person for the past, I don't know, 30 Barbra Streisand albums. I think that's somewhere near the number. But he was the A&R person, and he has great respect for songwriters. So
Mhm.
his idea for Hillary in convincing the label that this would be a good idea, his idea was, let me get the best songwriters I know, to
Right.
go after it. So when you work for somebody like Jay, you get a lot of respect as a songwriter. And once he says you have the job, you're not pitching it anymore. You actually have the job. And for us songwriters, for we songwriters,
Mhm.
an amazing position that we're not pitching against other people.
Yeah.
So that was a great combination, the Hilary Duff. And I wrote all the original songs for her Christmas album.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then, yeah, just was fortunate to write a lot for Hillary. It was another great opportunity and experience.
Yeah, I think Disney in the early 2000s though really became like a gold mine for a lot of people because I don't even think a lot of people realized that this could be happening, especially in the world of kids, because technically that's what it was for.
It was, yeah.
Um, Hillary was one of the people that really, like you said, catapulted that, especially with the show, and then they turned around and started making a movie out of it, and then action figures and a bunch of other stuff. And then Raven on top of that too with her show, and then they started doing albums on her. And because to be honest with you, I never looked at Raven as a singer like that, but she had the ability to do what was needed at the time.
Well, the same thing with Hillary.
Yeah.
Look, you still have to get behind. Look, we as producers and writers, we have a lot to do with how the end result comes, what is the end result is and what it sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
But they still have to get behind the mic and they still have to perform. They still have to put personality. Much more important than do they have great voices or not? Right. And some do, some don't. But that's not the point. The point is you still have to get there. You still have to put your personality and interpretation. Now, the advantage to some of those people is they are actors.
Mm-hmm.
And so if there's an emotion to a song, they can bring it up. And then you as the producer have to say, well, maybe we can do a little better here or do a little better there. But basically, you don't have to worry too much about them, interpreting it in the way the song should be interpreted.
Yeah, yeah. Because they really had a machine much greater than almost anyone I can think of, really, honestly, because even in the midst of their shows playing, for instance, back then when we were watching, you would go to a commercial break and here they would play a music video by this same person. Yeah. So this is how we learned a lot of that stuff, really, because I never even knew that they had albums out during that time until later on. But you would see a music video pop up and you're like, oh, okay, I like this song. Okay. That was a marketing tool that we didn't realize, we didn't know.
Well, but, television has always been a great medium for marketing music. People didn't do it the way Disney did it. They said, oh, we're going to combine this. But there was a television show called Ozzie and Harriet. Mm-hmm. And they had a son, Ricky Nelson. And so they decided at a certain point when he got older that they would have him sing a song at the end of the shows. And he was sort of like a teen idol looking guy. And he would sing these songs and they became huge hits. And then he actually he transformed into a legitimate artist. He was given the opportunity and he made a few really nice records. Right. But television is what made him successful. Everybody was watching that show. And then there's Ricky Nelson, and he's so cute, and and he had once again a very charming voice and songs that that appealed to the to a big enough audience. But television has always been powerful.
Oh yeah. In
terms of that,
definitely. And they did that with Jesse McCartney, matter of fact, and who is it? The Jonas Brothers, matter of fact, too. And they're still big to this day. But thankfully, they are musicians and singers and stuff like that. So
the Jonas Brothers actually are musical talents.
Right.
But a lot of people, if there are people who have talent, and if they're given the chance and the right situation, that talent blossoms. And then they understand that okay, I have this opportunity, I'm going to make the most of it, and I'm going to want to express myself. Mm-hmm. If you get that opportunity. And there's another chance, who knows what the Jonas, any of them would be if they weren't given that chance, if they had to slog it out in clubs. 5-6 years, maybe yes, maybe no. But no, television is a great medium. But a lot of people, look, the Beatles came up in a certain time and place, and they had a producer because they started out just being this really special pop group, and then they were allowed the opportunity to grow and express themselves further and further, and they became the classics that they are. But they also had a producer, George Martin, who respected them and allowed them to express themselves and take things in different directions.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's got to be a combination of elements that allow you to get anywhere.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And they have to come together. And so, we keep our fingers crossed and hope they come together for us.
That's right. But even like you said, that is true, and even like the Supremes, when we look at them, and their success once they started getting it, they had to start, changing their sound, they had to start changing their look, all of that stuff. Because if you think about it, and you look at early Motown artists like the Marvelettes, they didn't have their picture on the album cover of "Please, Mr. Postman." It was just a mailbox, So it just shows you the progression of things and how it comes together, because Supremes really embodied charisma and style and grace and all that stuff once they started coming out.
Yeah.
And it was a hit.
Yeah. Oh, look, first of all, I must commend you on all the research that you do, because somebody at your age, to be able to talk to you and you actually know what the references are and
Yes.
actually are familiar with what's going on, what we're talking about, what I would talk about, because I bring in a lot of years into what I've been doing. Yeah, no, I really, I respect you and commend you for that, because when you're talking to somebody, you don't want to sit there when they're talking about something, go, duh, but anyway, no, good job. Good job.
No, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. But I always say, I like to give credit to the artist of the past, because it's so important. And like I said, a lot of times that I'm just sitting listening to music. That's what I'm listening to. Is I don't really listen to a lot of stuff of today. Um, it's just different for me. So on any given day, you would hear me like listening to Anita Baker, for instance, or Barry White or somebody, that kind of stuff. I don't really listen to like today's stuff. If unless I hear a song that I'm like, okay, this is all right. But other than that, I'm normally listening to like 60s or 70s or even 80s stuff. And if you look back, a lot of the interviews or the people that I interview are like 70s and 80s artists, like Denise Williams and Melba Moore and all those people. Like those are the kind of artists that I really love. And
Well, those were all really good singers,
right,
and they didn't need auto tuning.
that's right. That's right.
Nobody was throwing that auto tune sound over their voices, which today is done a lot as a sound. Basically, it doesn't mean people can't sing, but those people, you are actually allowed. When you talk about Anita Baker, you could really hear the quality of her voice, and that was
Yes.
part of what made her so successful.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, yeah, I mean, her voice was also another very, very special voice.
That's right. That's right. That's why I was saying the other day. And that's how I ended up finding you, matter of fact, because I was talking to first I was talking to Barry Eastman, who is a songwriter, and then he led me to Gordon Chambers, who was his partner, which they both wrote I Apologize for Anita Baker.
Right.
And they both did some work with Whitney too, and then eventually her Christmas album. But I was looking through the credits and I saw your name on the Bodyguard soundtrack, and I was like, oh, okay. So I like to give credit to you guys as well. But yeah, Anita definitely had something special. And like I was telling them, I Apologize is one of my favorite songs because, she really took the emotion of the song and brought it out. When I listen to this song, I want to call somebody and apologize, and I don't know what for. Because she's singing so good.
That's a successful interpretation, isn't it? Right? That you emotionally. Hey, look, there's room for every single type of song and music, and it's so personal. I may not listen to certain types of music, but that doesn't mean I don't respect who creates it, who sings it, because it's a hard road to hoe for anybody. And even the most popular, look, how many people are there in the world now? I don't know, 5 billion, 6 billion.
Yeah, about 7 billion, something like that.
Right. So let's say if you sell, you're a platinum selling album, you sold 1 million of something. That means almost nobody in the world.
Yeah, that's true.
Bought it.
That's true.
And so it's sobering, but that's why, social media allows people to get a certain, to spread the fame a little bit more, because everybody has access to either a cell phone or a laptop or a computer of some kind. But I mean, it's very sobering, and not every artist has the whole. Maybe the Beatles have. I don't know anybody who wouldn't listen to the Beatles, and maybe I'm wrong. But other than the Beatles, there's maybe Stevie Wonder. I don't know anybody who doesn't love Stevie Wonder, what he's done. And I'm sure there are others, but basically, except for a handful of artists, most artists have a very niche audience. and hopefully that audience is able to sustain that artist in a career. Um, but when you look, there's a great documentary. I think it's called 20 Steps from Stardom.
Oh, 20 feet from starting. Yeah, I love that.
It's amazing. Look at those amazing singers.
Yeah.
Wondering why, a lot of them wonder why it's, that whole thing. Why not me? Because boy, those voices are off the charts.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yet a lot of them have continued to at least, make a living. Um, there's there's a there's a wonderful singer that I've had the opportunity to work with recently, Crystal Talafero.
Mhm.
She's an amazing singer, one of the best singers I've ever heard. And she's still now she sings backup now. She makes a good living, I hope, singing for like Billy Joel and people like that. And if you took her and her voice, and with a certain convergence of elements, who knows, maybe she would have been that superstar. And that's the way it is. For it takes a convergence of elements to
Yeah. Yeah.
make that, but that doesn't mean that there's not a way for a lot of people to make their mark, or to even earn a living.
Yeah, it's true. And I always, which is the reason, like I said, I do these interviews is because of people like the artist on 20 Feet from Stardom. Just because sometimes you don't know. No, the public doesn't always know, especially listening to people like Darlene Love
Uh,
and the Blossoms, and seeing how they got, pretty much sabotaged, pretty
yeah,
much.
they got shot.
Yeah.
Let's,
So, and then have a record out and you're like, oh, I'm thinking this is coming out in my name, or it's going to be our record and it's under the crystals. I mean, I don't know how I would have handled that, but it's crazy.
well, they didn't handle it well. Nobody handles that well. And
Yeah.
and that's why, look, what you're doing and trying to give a platform of voice to maybe people who are lesser known is a good thing. And what people have to understand is my story, Darlene's, all those stories are so interesting that there has
Hmm.
to be a platform for them. When people hear Darlene Love's story, it's like, wow, and really, she was the voice of girl groups to a certain degree.
That's right.
She had that voice that everybody was sort of imitating at the time,
Hmm.
uh, uh, to be successful, but at least she's achieved some recognition, and she is considered a classic now.
Yes.
And I don't know if that how much that makes up for how much she was screwed, you
Right.
know, but but at least it is something, because we all want to be acknowledged, for what we've contributed.
Yeah, yeah. All those records that you sing on, like people don't even realize, like even I was talking to Shirley Jones of the Jones Girls, and she said, yeah, we sing on background for a lot of artists from, Curtis Mayfield to Aretha Franklin to this person and that person. I'm like, I had no idea.
Well, because unless now nobody knows. Back in those days when there were albums, um, if the album credits were correct, you would go and you see who did this, who did what.
Hmm. Hmm.
Nobody even knew who record producers were at the time. I mean, Phil Spector became well known, but George Martin, but just a few. Today, um, in a lot of types of music, the producer is almost more the art than the artist,
That's
and
right.
a lot of people know a lot of the producers. But back in the day when I was listening, I didn't really look at it. I said, oh, who's singing? Who are the people in the group? I didn't even look at who the songwriters were, to be honest. You know,
Hmm.
it was a different world. So it's nice that you're doing something. It's good, important that you're doing something like this, and I hope that you show that this grows into something where for a big audience, because I think the way you're choosing people to talk about, you
Hmm.
know because I was always thinking about doing a book and going and interviewing all these people, the type of people, and then making the most interesting book in the world about what it's really like, you
Right.
know. about all of these stories. And, you've interviewed people, everybody has a good story.
That's right. That's right.
I think that's a
Yeah.
good title for a book. Everybody has a good story. So,
Yeah. That's catchy. That's a good one though. I like that. I like that. But I can't hold you all day, so I just gotta ask like two more questions and then I can
oh,
let you
go
go.
ahead. I'm
But
enjoying myself. It's Saturday.
okay, okay.
I'm just going to watch Tyson Fury. I'm just going to watch the boxing match tonight, and
Okay, all right, all
that's
right.
that's that's my only goal.
Hey,
Fury Wilder. Let's see.
look, there's nothing wrong with that, I promise. But I wondered for you though, being a songwriter, when you see artists, sing the songs that you've done, some of them won Grammys, and you got 2 Golden Globe nominations, of course. But at any point for you, did you think like, you know, I want the fame that came along with those things, or I want to be on that stage too? Did that ever come for you at all?
Well, look, I'm a performer by nature. That was my first thing. I never thought I want to be on that stage when
Hmm.
if it's an award thing, because you're just grateful for. But do I want fame? Um, it depends what you mean. I want to be recognized for what I've done, like everybody does, and also that helps your career.
Right.
And that's an important part. I mean, a lot of people know who I am, respect what I do. A lot of people don't. I've never really pushed it because it's just not my personality for whatever reason. So I've been fortunate to have so much success. But fame, yeah. When I started out, I wanted to be a famous rock and roll star playing to 50,000 people, but yeah, I think fame, it depends. I'd like to be recognized for what I've done. I think like everybody does. And when, somebody, wants to write an article, I'm happy about that because they're recognizing the work I've done.
Hmm.
But the idea of being famous, left me a while ago. Right now, I'm happy with whatever modicum of being known I have, and
Okay.
yeah, and to keep on going, being able to do this. But yeah, of course, I wanted to be famous when I was younger. I mean, look at all the real or not love and applause you get, and I think
Hmm.
as a performer, if that's your personality, look, I don't care about I am a behind the scenes person, but I'm very happy to be in front of the scenes because I was a performer and I enjoy it. It's like I enjoy interviews,
Right.
it's connection. I like to person, and that's what you have as a performer. Now, if you handle fame correctly, you can do a lot of great things, and you can do
Yes.
great things for people, and if you use the power that you have, that's a good thing about fame. A bad thing, and then we all know the dark sides of what happens to people with fame, because there's a juice that you get, and somehow there's an emptiness when you're not getting that juice. But
Exactly.
it's a choice you make. Look, I come from a day and age. I'd say, well, okay, man, you make the choices, you take the consequences.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
and I feel bad for people who can't handle that type of thing. Um, but obviously you have an opportunity that a lot of people would kill for, and unfortunately we're not all built to handle that. But
Yeah.
the ones that are have a great. Doesn't look like Mick Jagger has any problem with it.
Exactly.
You
Exactly. That's true. That's
Yeah,
true. But a lot of those people, you don't understand. And I heard somebody before say, fame just amplifies who you really are. Because sometimes we have a tendency to say, like, oh, you got famous, you changed, or you got money, you changed. And it's like, no, I don't think they really changed all the time. It's just now it's just something different.
I don't know.
But
That to me is like, I mean, somebody much more interested in the psychology of things than I am. But
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if it amplifies who you are. I mean, because look, we all as human beings, I think, have the possibility of going a lot of different ways, and there is such a thing as temptation.
That's right.
And I've been married for over 30 years.
Well, congratulations.
Grateful to my wife because she's, the most beautiful woman in the world, and for other reasons. And but there's temptation out there, and how you handle it. Maybe it has to do with, I don't know, how you're brought up, or a lot of different reasons. But I don't really know. I know some people handle it great. And you're allowed to, I think that people make mistakes, and they're allowed to have second chances, and they're allowed to say they've I don't know how much you change in the basics of who you are, but you can learn. I do believe it is possible to learn in this world, and to use your intellect and strength to go on a better path.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And sometimes people don't understand that the pressures of not only life, but being in the industry too, can drive you to do just about anything. I can't imagine somebody calling me and saying today, you don't have a record deal anymore after, that being your only source of income, and you're an artist and you've been doing this for I don't know how many years. And somebody walks up and says, well, hey, I got some Coke for you. I got this, or I got that,
But
you're already down.
Yeah, but we all come from different backgrounds. We all have different ways of looking at the world.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't have those answers. I can't even conjecture. I mean, we can conjecture, but really, in the end, I mean, I'm not that much of an expert in any of these areas with real solid opinions. But I think that, a lot of, how your family, that has a lot to do with the way you react to things, where you brought up a certain way, where you in a certain environment,
Mm-hmm.
and even then, you can have two people brought up in the same environment, and one winds up in one place and one in a totally opposite place.
Right.
And so I don't really know. I know that, look, I'm happy with where I am. I don't know if I mean, I have a great family, and that's part of where I ended up, and so I wouldn't change a single thing. But to have tried real fame for a while, I wouldn't have minded that. When my album came out, because it was very devastating and disappointing, and etc. But who knows? Who knows really what the other path would lead you. But I don't know. Fame can be used. There are many people that use fame in a good way, and some
Yes.
people who, for some reason, it gets to their ego, or it gets to another different type of need that they have, and they go in a different direction. So really, honestly, I mean, we can talk about it, but I don't know. I just wish everybody the best.
That's right. I don't blame you. I don't blame you. But as far as songwriting, though, like, do you still approach a song or songwriting period the same way that you did when you initially started out?
Basically, yeah, because I've always considered myself more of I guess, in my heart, an artist than as a songwriter.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I've written every single way. I've written when people give me melodies, or I've written, with lyrics first, which is, like the way Elton John and Bertie Taupin write, and the way I wrote with Dan Hartman. And it depends who I'm writing with, but I always approach it the same way. I'm not very calculated. I can sit there forever just thinking until something pops out. But it's not, I'm not a very calculated songwriter that says, oh, although, if somebody gives me a good title, well, then that'll spur me on, because the title
Right.
means something to me. Or, if I'm writing with an artist, and or with a collaborator, and they send me a track, and they're just sort of jamming, and they have some words in there, and some sounds, I'll take, oh, that's a good sound, and I'll take off from the sound.
Mm-hmm.
Or if a word sings really well, I'll try to use that word in whatever I'm writing. So it's really just, getting inspired at the moment. It's really the same. It really hasn't changed for me, the way the way I write. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I guess I've grown as a songwriter because we all grow, but basically it's the same process I use.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Now, was there ever a song during the time that you were well, when you came out, rather, I would say, like during the 80s or the 90s, was there ever a song that you heard that you wish you would have wrote that was just big?
You know, there are songs I would have liked to have written. Uh, you know, not so much about an era, but I mean, you know, I'm a big fan of Van Morrison, and he has some songs that are so mystical to me. Uh, but yeah, there are some songs that I've, you know, I mean, to go through what they are right now. I mean, it's hard to determine if that's a song I really love or some one that I wish I would have written. I guess I
Mhm.
wish it would have written, you know, Bridge Over Troubled Water because it's made $1 billion.
Right,
You know, so,
right.
you know, or you know, yeah. I mean, a song like "Tracks of My Tears."
Oh
uh,
yeah.
Smokey, which the lyrics are just they're poetic, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
and something like that. But I don't know. It's not so much for me. Yeah, if I hear a song that I think is amazing, I'm sure I have had the thought, boy, I wish I would have written that. But I don't know if I meant that seriously or I'm just talking to somebody. Go, that's a great song. I wish I would have written that. You know, but yeah, I mean, you know, it's there are some songs that I admire so much, and they're usually by unique, like Paul Simon, the way he writes is very unique.
Hmm.
I don't know how you even teach anybody to write that way. You know, same thing with an Elton John. There are certain writers and there are certain songwriters that have a formula, and it's a great formula, and that's the way they write. But basically, it's for me, it's songs that. Oh, there is a song uh, called Chandelier. You know
Uh-huh.
that song by Sia, uh, and I
Oh
thought,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
wow, that's such a great title. You know what I mean? And the way it's sung, that I thought, oh, I would have liked to have had that title. You know what I mean? Because it and it's hard to find a word like that that can sing so well and yet is unusual
Right,
for
right.
a song. So yes, I remember hearing specifically hearing that and going, wow, first of all, I love that hook. But I said, well, that's a great word. I would have loved,
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mm-hmm.
then I go to what other word can I find like that to use in a song? But you know, it's what, yeah. So that sort of popped into my head. That popped into my head.
Yeah, yeah. But I think that you made a good point earlier too about like tracks of my tears, and I just thought about it. But you know, people really don't understand, and I think that has changed too with songwriting. That people like Smokey were really just telling stories. You know, it wasn't like let me just come up with a song, let me just throw this out, but they were really telling stories. With tracks of my tears, he really comes out of the gate telling you a story. Like people say I'm the life of the party because I tell a joke or two. Like
It's very
you have
good.
to really think about that.
Yeah, I mean, look, yeah, look, songwriting is a little different because, you know, look, today there are some albums, you look on an album and there's 10 songwriters, there's eight
Yeah.
songs. I don't know how that works because I don't work in that way, basically. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
there's more than three I won't write, basically, because I don't know what the point is, the the joy of it. I don't find the joy in that type of writing, but you know, there's a lot of people contributing, and there's, I think, a different idea today of what songwriting is
Mm-hmm.
uh, to some people in certain genres, and that's fine if that's what they want to do. I mean, I don't judge anything. I just know that I don't want to particularly write with eight other people,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, because it's hard enough to be a great collaborator anyway. You know that you really have to tamp your ego down a little bit and make sure that you're respecting the other person's ideas as
Right.
much as your ideas, you know. So
Yeah. Too many cooks in the kitchen.
Well, for me, not for some people, obviously,
Yeah, yeah.
they have a lot
I mean, I
but
would
yeah.
imagine though, if you have like 8 people or 10 people on a song, they must be contributing like a couple of words each or something because.
Or they come in with a beat, or they come in with a certain, part. And there's an argument to be made for that to a certain degree, because there's a lot of the Motown stuff that was written where the bass parts were probably as important in the song as anything else, but those people weren't given songwriting credit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's a song that was done by Procol Harum called "Whiter Shade of Pale," and which if you should listen to if you have never heard it.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a keyboard part to that, which is as much a part of the songwriting as anything else, but the person that created the keyboard part wasn't given credit.
Right.
Okay. So years later, like 40 years later, this person sued and actually won the suit, but wasn't able to collect from the previous 40 years.
Mm.
So there is something to be said about that. And sometimes it just depends on your point of view.
Yeah. Yeah.
It isn't like in the old Brill building where everybody's sitting down, Carole King, whoever it is, and they're writing, and this is the song, and I have my songwriting partner, and you present the song to somebody, and then it's done. It's a different world today.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, everybody has a different point of view. So it's just up to whoever the collaborators are to decide whether I want to do this or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to be involved with that. But when you remember, we all grow up in different eras, in different, times. And so if that's the zeitgeist of the times, then people are okay with it because that's what their expectation is. But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I just want to have a good time when I write.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's always been, yeah.
I mean, I hope if it is that many people, that is indeed the case. Because in the early days, like you said, a lot of people didn't get credit for things that they were doing.
Yeah.
And we even seen that with the with Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers and how that played out. And
You're really going back, Frankie.
yeah, yeah.
The teenagers, right?
Yeah, but like Herman Santiago and I forgot the other guy's name, what was in the group. I seen them filed a lawsuit. They won it, and then it was overturned because they said it was too late. It had been too long, but they were actual writers of the song along with Frankie. So
That's happened a lot. It's happened a lot. I'm very for songwriters. Songwriters have often gotten the shortest end of the stick because people in the know realize that a copyright lasts, and a copyright on a successful song is the gift that keeps on giving.
yes.
Okay. Even much more than the actual record itself or the
Mm-hmm.
recording itself. So, and of course today, because people have realized that and everybody wants a piece of it, some of it is legitimate and some of it is not legitimate.
Right.
But I know that songwriters have historically have gotten the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I mean, I'm for what's ever fair, but I'm not the guy to judge, what that is, unless I'm in the situation. See, when I start writing a song with anybody, the first thing I say is that we're all equal here. I'm not
Right.
going to argue over percentages because the only important thing to me is the end result. If we create something great, then everybody deserves credit because you never know what's going to make a song great. Maybe it's
That's
that
right.
one melodic turn. So I make sure there's no argument before I start saying that.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I'm in that position now to say before we start, if there's 3 writers, we're all equal. Because
Right.
I don't want anybody thinking that if I don't put in 3 more words, then I'm not going to get as much a percentage. And often for me, because I write melody and lyric, I often do, more of the whole than other people, but I don't care. Because you know what? If you come out with something great, first, it makes you feel good. And the second, you have a chance of it being successful. And if not, it's just another song you're putting on your cloud and nobody's ever going to hear. And I have plenty
Yeah.
of, yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I want to talk about some of the recent stuff that you're working on. So tell us about some of that, because I know you've been working still in the industry. I know we talked about some of the older stuff, but what are some of the newer things that you've been working on?
I've been writing, I've been working on different I've been working on my book.
Okay.
Okay. I've been working on another project that I think hopefully will be important to the creative people in this world. It's not songwriting. And
Okay.
so what I do right now is I'm not really out there pushing songs, or,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm called to do things, I will. Right now, I wrote a song with Walter Afanasieff, who's sort of a legend. He wrote all the early Mariah Carey stuff. He co-wrote
Yes.
the Christmas song with her. He's a complete genius, and we have this song that we wrote um, called "Back Home Again" for this animated feature that just won the Edmonton Film Festival Award for the best animated feature. It's called "Back Home Again," and it's sung by the actor Jeremy Renner, who
Mm-hmm.
did a great job. So I do that, and of course there's the Streisand stuff, and I've been working with doing some writing with a wonderful singer who got some fame from YouTube, Dr. Elvis,
Mm-hmm.
and who's happens to be a spinal surgeon.
Oh, wow.
And he just started putting amazing singer, amazing voice, best guy in the world. And he's a spinal surgeon. And he just started singing and got followers. And I was contacted by his management to do some writing with him. So I've been doing that. And some other things, but some younger artists. But if basically these days, if I'm called, I'll do it. I write a lot with a good friend of mine, Buck Johnson,
Mm-hmm.
who's the keyboard player for Aerosmith and Hollywood Vampires, and he's down in Nashville because I've been writing with him forever, and I love working with him because his voice is one of the greatest voices I've ever heard. And I do a lot of things for my creative satisfaction. I'm not out there plugging stuff anymore, which I
Mm-hmm.
never really did. But like this film, Back Home Again, called upon to do that. The Streisand stuff that I've done, even the Cher song for that I wrote a bunch of years ago for Burlesque. Welcome to
Burlesque, yeah.
Yeah, I was called to do that. None of
Mm.
this was pitching, which I really haven't done a lot of pitching songs. I really haven't done much at all. And I've just been fortunate that for whatever reason, people think enough of what I do to keep calling me. And I hope they never stop, but
That's right.
I have some projects I'm working on. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I just want to know, as far as the songs that you've done at any point, how do you feel about covers and samples when you hear them? Do they make you feel great? Do you say
I don't mind if I'm paid for the sample. You know
okay?
what I mean? Nowadays they have some standard standard ways that if you use a sample. Look, a lot of my songs are redone. You see them on YouTube. I don't know how much, and the performing rights societies are trying really hard, and the publishers to collect on these. I have a song. I don't know. You should look it up. There's a mashup of Uptown Funk and Living in America.
Okay.
That's on. And there's a mashup, and one song goes into the other, but a lot of songs back then, maybe, but that I don't know how to get. I don't. Always hoping my publisher, and I check that out, is collecting something for that,
Mm-hmm.
or the performing rights societies. But we don't. I mean, you have to keep track of these things, but yeah, I mean, it's just a different landscape out there, and how you actually collect you know, the material, the cover songs, and people constantly covering your material. And I've been fortunate that that has happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the performing rights societies and the publishers are really trying harder and harder to make sure that the songwriters get paid,
Okay.
something, because everybody's having a good time using it. And they used to use samples freely without paying anybody. Now, if you want to use somebody's samples, you call up and you ask the publisher. And for me, I don't care. I don't have if you like what I've done, you want to use a sample, that's fine with me. Just make sure I get my cut.
That's right.
I mean,
That's
really,
right.
I act actually am flattered when somebody wants to do that. I'm not that precious, you know, about it. And some people are, and I respect that, but not me. Go ahead, use it, because, you know, if I can, you know, if you love what I do, I'm happy about that. And if it follows that I can make some money from that, I'm happy about that. So, you
Right.
know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I hear you. But just let everybody know where they can find you online, if you have your any social media and
I'm
your
on,
website.
yeah, look, I'm on Facebook because it's a great way to promote what you're doing.
Yes.
You know, with all the problems Facebook has, uh, I find that, it's a great way to promote what you're doing, which, has been, which has been good to me. I'm
Hmm.
Charlie I have a website, charliemidnight.com,
Okay.
and spelled CHARLIE, and midnight, MIDNIGHT, charliemidnight.com. My book is on Amazon, and it's called Deserves Got Nothing to Do with It, Talking Crap with Charlie Midnight. And yeah, so that's, I'm on Facebook. If you want to be my friend and aren't somebody, just looking to I don't know. There's some things on Facebook that are fishy, and I try to vet everything. But, anybody who wants to be my friend and they say, can I be a friend because you're the greatest songwriter in the world and I love you, I'm very happy to friend them. Especially if they say, especially if they go, friend me and I'll buy your book.
There
Then
you
I'll
go. There you go.
definitely,
Look, you got no choice then. They gave you a great deal.
Exactly. I'm saying, it's look, I'm fortunate. I have a great time doing what I'm doing. I keep on, doing it, and as far as I'm concerned, I'm never going to stop.
Amen to that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is none other than Mr. Charlie Midnight himself. Thank you again.
Well, thank you very much, Tony. This is a pleasure. You have incredible knowledge. 25-year-old, that's guy, and I hope that I hope that what you're doing, your audience really expands from this. And I'll mention something on my Facebook about it. Okay.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
All right.